Welcome to the Africa 2100 podcast, the show where we explore the future of business, innovation, and entrepreneurship on the continent. Join us as we dive into real stories, expert insights, and practical strategies to help you build, scale, and succeed. Whether you're a founder, investor, or changemaker, this is your go-to space for ideas that shape the next generation of African businesses. Let's get started.
Hello there. Quick one before we begin today's episode. We've noticed that 80% of you, our listeners, haven't hit the subscribe button yet. And we understand, sometimes you just forget. I would like you to know that subscribing is the best and totally free way to support this podcast. It helps us reach more people, grow this amazing community, and keep bringing you insightful conversations with brilliant minds across Africa and beyond. So if you're listening and learn something new each time, do us a tiny favor. Hit that subscribe button now, wherever you're tuning in from. Okay, let's get on with the episode. Welcome to the Africa 2100 podcast, where we dive into the world of business, innovation, and entrepreneurship on the continent. I'm Chudi Obiaya, and today we're tackling a topic most entrepreneurs overlook and do not pay any attention to: financial record keeping. Managing your startup's finances is not the most exciting part of entrepreneurship, but it is one of the most crucial. Poor financial management has been known to be the primary reason why startups fail. So how do founders avoid this costly mistake and set themselves up for long-term success? To help us go through that and unpack this riddle, I have Ikenna Nduaguibe, who is a chartered professional accountant in Canada and an associate chartered accountant from the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. He has extensive experience in corporate, individual, and entrepreneurial finance and currently serves as a client partner at Diligent. And Ismael El-Amin, who is a co-founder and Chief Executive Officer of Piggyback Network. He and his organization are enhancing the lives of families, parents like me, by transforming the carpooling experience. He has extensive experiences in the technology space. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
So I will start off with you, Ikenna. Why is financial management important for startups? And what are the biggest risks of poor record keeping?
Financial management is very important because one of the things I've noticed working with a number of business owners is they know their business, they know what they are doing, they understand their products, they understand the market, but sometimes they don't understand the finances. Now, it's one thing to understand the business that you are doing. It's a completely different thing to account for it properly and make the right decisions when it comes to your next steps as a business owner. The reason a lot of businesses fail is because they believe that they see inflow. I'm making money, I get money in the bank, I'm spending money. Whenever I get to the bank, I have money there. But they don't take a step back to see, is this business actually profitable? Can this business actually sustain me in the long run? So you have people that continue, and when you have a business that continues to give you cash flow, it gives you that money for some time, and you don't know if you are making profit or not, but you know that when you need money, you have it. You stay there for 5 years, for 10 years, and you're like, I don't really feel like I'm growing. I feel like I'm stuck in one spot. So one of those issues we see with startups is while they navigate the industry, understand their business, understand what they are trying to do, they neglect very important issues around record keeping, around tracking their expenses, around whether the business is growing or not. I had a session with a business owner recently where I prepared their numbers on a monthly basis over a year. And when I told them what they were spending on some transactions, they were like, that's not possible. And I'm like, well, the numbers don't lie. So you'd see that businesses struggle because they don't track their finances, they don't monitor their finances. Sometimes they mix their personal finance with their business finance. So everything goes into the same account. You want to pay for your phone data from the same account. You want to pay for your business supplies from the same account. You want to buy a chair in your house from your business account. You want to buy a table for your business from the same account. So they don't separate it. There is no distinction between themselves and the business. And the business is a completely different entity, or should be treated as a completely different entity. And a proper grasp of your business would advise certain decisions in management accounting. We have what we call the make or buy decision. That's, should I make this thing myself or should I buy it from someone? And those are decisions you can only make when you understand the numbers. If it costs me $10 to make it and it costs me $6 to buy it, $2 to transport it to my warehouse, it's easier for me to buy it. So it's cheaper for me to buy it. Those are all of the things that you start to consider. And a number of businesses don't do that. And that's where we start to see some of the struggles that they face. And they need that proper grasp. Sometimes they need guidance. At other times, I believe it's something they can do themselves. But it's very important that they do that. And that's where that's the heart of the struggle. They don't know that they're struggling.
Thanks, Ikenna. That's quite in depth and quite broad. Ish, how has financial record keeping impacted your journey? And did any of the examples and challenges that founders face that Ikenna just shared resonate with you?
Yeah, so in the examples, you're speaking about someone with a product that's, manufacturing something and selling it, and we're creating software, so we're building a platform and bringing people on, and the transactions that'll actually bring in the revenue are slow to come. We're spending most of these years building up and spending and spending and spending, and it's actually advantageous for us to introduce these financial reports to show how much we're spending, because we can show future investors that, hey, we've done all of this, but we've only spent this amount. This is what our cost has been to do this. So we're sort of using our financial savviness to show that on the report. We were fortunate enough to learn early on, separate your business transactions, get your banking account for a business account separate from your personal. Don't dip into both, have all your transactions marked and categorized. We have a financial professional that we work with that builds up our books and our financials and our P&L statements and all these different things. Even though money's not falling from the sky yet, we're not bringing in that revenue, as if we were a mature company, but we are prepared to show year over year, month over month, what the change in spending has been, where our investment money is going, where our payroll is going, what we're paying to build out a website, what we're paying in marketing, what we're paying in advertising fees, what we're avoiding in advertising fees, what we're avoiding in payroll and scaling out. So it's been able to help us to use those financial documents as a tool, as sort of a third person within our two-person team, to say this is a level of maturity that we've reached, and as soon as you ask us for the documents, we can turn around and produce those. A lot of times the accelerators, the incubators, some of the investment conversations, they're going to look to see, is this startup taking this seriously, and have they invested in a CPA, audited reports? Can they produce the financials year after year? And if you can't produce that, you can't participate in some of these programs and some of these accelerators that are available that would in turn invest into the company. So we saw the need up front. We put the investment in there with some of our raised money, and it's paying off for us so far.
It sounds like you were onto the game much earlier. Was when you originally started, how did you know to do so? Because at the beginning, as founders, we're also focused on the idea, trying to refine the idea, thereafter, how to run our operations. This is always overlooked. But it seems like you got wind of this early. What set you into this?
For one, I had to set my ego to the side and say, I know my company, but I do not know this industry. I'm an engineer by design. My corporate background has nothing to do with finance. Let me talk to the people that actually do this. And I was fortunate enough to bring myself into the company of some financial planners and financial advisors. And they immediately said, okay, if you're running a business, these are the things you want to look into. Some of them were just peers, but some of them I actually hired for their advice and to set things up the right way. I don't know the statistics, but I do know that a lot of companies, they get to a point where they should be sustainable and profitable, but their financial situation is not what they thought it was. They didn't have it documented. They were sloppy with it. And profitable business hit walls and hit plateaus because they can't make it further. So I did not want that to happen to us.
Ikenna, so you had shared with us some of the challenges, which included a lack of separation between personal accounts and business accounts.
Yeah.
What are the other typical pitfalls that you've seen with these entrepreneurs, and how can they avoid them?
So one's cash flow management. It's important that you manage your cash flow very well. Cash is king, like they say. You want to be in a position where you have enough money to make decisions, to take advantage of opportunities as they arise without having to go through the process of meeting a bank or meeting loan sharks or people like that. Now, some companies don't manage their cash flow properly, and they don't do that by billing well. Some people are, I don't want to say scared, maybe shy of asking for money for services they've rendered. It is important that you're able to get favorable payment terms for yourself, because the sooner you get the money into the door, the sooner you can use it, and the less likely you have to go looking for money outside. Now, cash flow management in terms of invoicing on time, getting your money, maybe part of it upfront, getting a part of it while you're doing the job, and getting maybe just 10% of it a few days or weeks or maximum 30 days after the job is very crucial. That's one of the areas where businesses struggle because they now dip into personal funds to run the business, and that's the lines start to get murky at that point. So cash flow management is very important. Not setting financial goals is also an issue that some businesses have, because they just believe, I have this idea, I'm going to run with it. They don't take a step back and ask, at the beginning of this year, what is my objective? Is my objective to penetrate the markets? Is my objective to grow to a 1% market share? Is my objective to just be in business? What really is my objective? Do I want to be niche? Do I want to just play to the gallery? What am I going to be doing? What financial goals am I going to have? Am I going to hit $500,000 in revenue this year? Am I trying to hit 5% profits on my revenues? Like, what is my goal? Most businesses don't have a goal, and they just continue to operate year in, year out. And they don't have a goal because they don't have a budget. They don't have a budget that tells them what's coming in, what's going out. Now, some have a budget, but they don't review the budget to come back and say, I've spent all this money, or I plan to spend X amount of money now. 2 months have gone by. Am I close to what my budget says? Am I way off? What are my plans? And how am I tracking? How am I, keeping in touch with it? So those are some of the issues that we see. You also see that businesses ignore financial statements. Like Ish said, they started early. And I'll tell you what Ish said is not pervasive to most entrepreneurs. Most businesses do not do that. Even some established businesses still struggle with keeping records. We see it day in, day out. You don't have financial statements. You don't have an income statement. You don't know what your revenue and your expenses are. You don't have a cash flow statement. You don't even have a balance sheet. Like some people have not, they just scared of those words. They don't know what they're about. And not having those financial statements, because like the balance sheet gives a position of your business at a point in time. So you don't know where your business is at any point in time. Those are some of the issues that we see. Then, of course, getting finance because you believe so much in your business. And that's where accountants can become enemies sometimes, because you believe so much in your business, you're willing to borrow at ridiculous interest rates, and the accountant is telling you this is not going to work. But you're not convinced, about what you're trying to do, and you start getting funding that, comes with all types of restrictions and conditions that would eventually take you out of business. So business owners face some of these issues, entrepreneurs face some of these issues, and as they start to tackle them one after the other, they start to get better in what they're doing. And these are some issues that we see.
So, Ish, as Ikenna said, you're an outlier. You have transcended what typically occurs, because I'm with Ikenna as well. My observation and understanding is most times even I in my first startup, we don't pay attention to the financial records until it's time to go look for money beyond your friends, family, and fool around. You don't realize, I need to articulate or tell my story and show with supporting data. We wait until when we're seeking external funding from sophisticated investors or angel investors or otherwise before we realize, they're not going to give us any money because they don't have any proof that we are doing what we say. What was your trigger? Because you mentioned accelerators earlier on, which means you're already chasing money, you're already looking for funding. Was that what got you down this path?
Yeah, there was, we were fortunate enough to get into an early stage accelerator, and that introduced us, one, to an attorney. They had an attorney that was partnered with the group. We went through the process of converting from an LLC to a C Corp, going through that paperwork, not very, complex, but it's new to us because that just wasn't our expertise. So we were able to get walked through step by step what this looks like being a C Corp, and that was necessary to be a Delaware C Corp for the investment to come through from that accelerator. So we learned there were basically, requirements that you've got to have to be able to take on some of these fundings. And I just read the full thing and said, what else do we need to have in place? What else is going to come down the line? I very much want to be prepared and informed on what we need to have down the line so that we're not wrestling together and trying to make these deadlines to meet these requirements and looking sloppy at the same time. So I did my research as we met people. I just kept asking questions. What else are we going to need? We started looking at Reg CF crowdfunding sites. Our first one that we used was Seed at the Table, where we had our first friends and family equity investment round. They required financial statements because that gets submitted to the SEC. So now the SEC has our annual earnings and what our financial reports look like for the year. And then we had another round on WeFunder, the same thing. We had to submit our annual earnings just to keep those accounts active. We already knew what those were. We already had the CPA, already had the audited CPA who could go in and look after his work to make sure the numbers were right. And we knew that process. We knew how long it take. We knew how to, do our own oversight and due diligence to make sure everything looked right and just look like a well-polished machine, even though it's just two of us working on building this out. So it was those experiences that sort of required us to step up to the plate and kind of distinguish ourselves from just running a side hustle out of the back of our cars and just stacking our money and our personal money.
Was there any financial mistake you made along the way that taught you a valuable lesson?
If this thing doesn't work, let's just say hypothetically, my wife and I may not have any more retirement funds. So TBD on now. But so far, preparation and just faith that we're gonna get off the ground. Everybody knows what the economy looks like, what the landscape looks like for investing. We entered at a really sour spot. There's not a lot of dollars floating around from VCs, from angel investors. We have a concept that requires a lot of trust because we are the first ones out the gate to do something like this. They need to see it work. They want to see us pretty much earn our first million in revenue before they can say, "Oh yeah, I believe in it too." So we've got a pretty high risk service that we're trying to put out there, but we've got the right minds behind it. And if all the things work, everything was a good idea.
So today's conversation has highlighted just how critical financial record keeping is for success as a startup. We've discussed some common mistakes, some best practices, and how the right tools can make the process easier. So here are some of the points I heard individuals or I heard both Ikenna and Ish talk about. That one, be sure to separate your personal from your business record keeping. So financial record keeping is fundamental as an aspect of running a successful startup. Proper records support growth, funding efforts, and financial health. Ikenna also told us that cash flow management is key. Set financial goals and a budget, and track and use that to manage and run your respective activities. Before we wrap up, can I ask each of you to share one final piece of advice or tip? What's the one thing every startup founder should start doing today to improve their financial record keeping?
So some businesses are able to afford a CPA, some cannot. You should make out time every month. And I also do taxes with some business owners. And one of the issues I find with them is that they don't capture all of their expenses and all of their income. And when you try to do it at the end of the year, it is almost impossible because there are expenses that you might have forgotten that you even incur. So spend time every month. It could be on a Saturday or on a Sunday, Friday evening, whatever time you have to take stock of your activities for that month. It is part of your business. It is part of growing that fantastic idea that you have. Spend time putting my income, my expenses, my successes, my challenges, put all of that together on a monthly basis. You can do that in Excel, and that way you would see what your business is doing and what things look like. On a quarterly basis, after 3 months, review what you have put together and ask yourself, is the business growing the way I want it to? Am I making as much income as I expected to make? Am I spending more than I expected to spend? What can I do differently to make my business better? Spending that time, because the life of a business is in the numbers. And with the numbers, you can start to make more informed decisions. So spend that time. It might just be 1 to 2 hours in a month that you spend putting your income and expenses together. And every quarter, spend another 1 to 3 hours looking over those numbers and asking yourself, what will I do next quarter? That way, you're doing 2 things. One, you have a grasp of your income, business. And secondly, you have a plan for what you are going to do in the next quarter. It's important to start with those baby steps. Then eventually at the end of the year, you can look at the big picture and start to make 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 year plans. But start with those steps have an idea of what your business really is doing in terms of numbers, and take it from there.
Thank you, Ikenna. Ish?
Yeah, I agree. He's laying out, you're becoming disciplined, one month at a time, and that discipline is very important. I would say from the CEO seat, from the founder seat, you've only got so many hours in the day to work your business. Finances and financial statements and the taxes is something that we are able to learn and do. They have a lot of software products out there that you can do it yourself. But for me, it's one of the things that it made sense to delegate. It made sense to pay out someone that's a professional. One, the rules change all the time. So what you taught yourself in year one, by the time year three comes along, your business is in a different state. There's certain things that you may not know about that those professionals are being trained and updated on a regular basis. And two, it's long work. It's a lot of work to track these things down. The software makes it seem like it's easy to place and plug, but you still got to have a lot of organizational things set up with access to all of your expenses, access to all of your accounts receivables, a lot of these different places that you've got to go track down things while at the same time still trying to please your customer and build your product or service out. So it's just one of the things that makes sense for me to invest that money, to pay professionals to stay on top of things because I got a business to run.
Great. Thank you, Ikenna, and thank you, Ish. What I heard with that closeout and the tips you're providing are start early, be consistent, have a plan, execute that plan, leverage technology where you can to streamline these processes, and seek professional help so as to avoid costly financial mistakes where you can. If you know an entrepreneur struggling with finances, share this episode with them. Good financial management can be the difference between success and failure. And do not forget to subscribe to our podcast to keep learning practical strategies to build and scale your startup. This is Chudi Obiaya. See you next time.
That's it for today's episode of the Africa 2100 podcast. If you found value in this conversation, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. For more insights on building and scaling your startup, stay connected with us. Until next time, keep innovating, keep building, and let's shape the future of African business.